You already saw our foreign minister in the previous interaction here talk a lot about President Trump. And as you can see, there's a huge amount of interest in the US elections, in the suspense that has now resulted in Donald Trump regaining the White House for the second time. Would you like to tell us what you anticipate will be his immediate priorities, perhaps the difference between campaign and actual governance, and what will he give up and what will he push?
Well, first of all, I think everybody in the world has learned that it's very hard to predict anything about President Trump. There's no way to know with certainty exactly what will happen. And that unpredictability is something that he actually cultivates and appreciates in himself. I think it's clear he's going to try to shake some things up. You will see a series of executive orders issued on day one. I hope one of those orders will not include pulling out of the Paris Agreement, but it probably will. And there's really no good reason to be doing that. As the chairman of ExxonMobil said from Baku the other day, he didn't advise it because he thinks it would be counterproductive and against the interests of the United States. But he will do something on day one. He will have other executive orders that probably deal with his deportation promises and that deal with the question of immigration. But he'll take some flagship issues and just try to put them out there right away. You can count on that. The Congress will work carefully on these appointees because there are troubling aspects to a number of them. But I think that, I also think on the positive side, let me say to everybody, I think that President Trump, because of circumstances, you know from diplomacy, diplomacy requires a ripeness to be able to solve a problem.
Please.
And I was listening to Foreign Minister Jaishankar, who I have great respect for and who's a very smart man. But I wanted to refine a little bit what happened in this election. President Trump, very cleverly in his campaign, writ broadly, did what challenger to the Biden administration succession always do, which is scare the hell out of people and play to the lowest common denominator of politics, fear. And disinformation defined a lot of what people were perceiving. A lot of disinformation, some of it from other countries, some of it on the internet internally in the United States. In the end, the two biggest driving issues were immigration and inflation. Despite inflation coming down, despite significant, strength in the American economy. I mean, I think we're the strongest economy on the planet today. And despite that, and getting better, people didn't feel it. And I had a professor at university who said to me, all politics is a consequence of felt needs. And the felt needs of people in the United States were, we're not getting our fair share. There's an anger, which is a tide over from earlier years, not just during this administration. Globalization, which the foreign minister mentioned, has had a negative impact in many places, even as it's had a very positive impact. But when you see the wealth disparity in our country, if you have any sense of conscience or rectitude, it's disgusting. It's horrendous. And people have a right to be angry about their inability to share on the upsides of a lot of things that are happening. So in addition to those two things, my party, the Democratic Party, I regret to say, was somewhat tone deaf to some of the cultural issues that were out there floating. And there were people who did see it and there were people who didn't.
Yes.
But there was not sensitivity to the deep felt feel among many people in America, everywhere, that their America somehow is being diluted and changed. And I think there were plenty of ways to address that, but it wasn't addressed. And so I think that's why the loss took place. Now, the loss, if you look at it, folks, it's not a huge, I mean, yes, no battleground state was won by Kamala Harris, but on the other hand, everything was within a point and a half,
Yes.
really close. So the things I just mentioned could have tipped it either way if it had been responded to.
Yes.
So I think every politician in America needs to take note of the dynamics of this last year.